website and hit that one. That's probably the correct one. When it's on the agenda itself. So maybe the one that's actually on the town website where it says click here, that may be wrong. But if you open up the agenda and click the top of the agenda, that's got to be right. Or it's got to be operating better.
Yep, there's 19 now. Some people are getting in, so that's
Okay.
good.
Yep.
While we're waiting, I have pictures of my family's cross-country trip that we took when I was 9 years old. I'll start putting the pictures up now.
Well, actually, I think I'm
Home
going
movies at the Grand Canyon.
yeah, I think I'm going
Here's the Grand Canyon, kids. Oh, beautiful.
Okay, I think I'm going to continue. We have 19 people on. I expect even more will be coming on. But I want to I don't want to hold up any more of the council matter communications. So anyway, this task force is being established, and that's going to be very important. Officer Laporte is training the block watch people for anybody in their neighborhood if anybody wants to establish one. The second thing I wanted to say about the police task force is that they are working very closely with our neighborhood watch group. And actually, there are towns that are calling our neighborhood watch group for assistance in getting one going successfully in their communities. I know that they received calls from Hamden and a number of other towns. So that's going pretty well. What I really want to say to everybody is hang in there. We're all working together. The Neighborhood Watch Group also has established a subcommittee to open up communication with our legislators. We also are talking about the same thing, so I will keep everybody posted as I learn more, and hopefully, we will be able to continue. My screen just went dark, so interesting.
We can still hear you.
Okay.
And we can see you.
Yep.
You can see me.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Do I look okay? No, I'm only kidding. That was the first thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about this evening is that this is February is Black History Month, and in the town of Southington, I really want us to mark this month as Black History Month. And so, within our community, we have outstanding people of color doing outstanding and remarkable things. And for an example, we have Mr. Williams, Mr. Kerry Williams. He is the plant superintendent for our water pollution control. We have Missy Cipriani. We could start and we could go on and on. Missy is also on the Board of Ed, but she's also assistant director for Bread for Life and feeding very many people. And even our own Jackie Santos has established, she's in our finance department, she's established a group called Hope. And they are bringing food and emergency supplies to people in need. Hope stands for helping other people and being encouraged. What I want to say is this. For this month, we have another meeting in February. And what I would do, I would ask the members of Southington, the town committee, the town community, to just write up, that we have a history in this community, and we want to make sure that our citizens of color are recognized for their accomplishments, especially during this month. So what I'm asking is that if you know someone of color that is doing something remarkable and you would like to mention them and tell their story, that you would please just email me, drop a line and tell me what the story is with that person. And I will, all the stories that we collect between now and our next meeting, we will include them in our minutes for next meeting, and so that they will be saved, and that their stories, the stories of those people who give every day to Southington and sometimes are perhaps overlooked or taken for granted, that we will do the right thing and we will compile those stories about the people in town that have done so much over the years, and we'll make it part of our minutes for that meeting. And I think that's very important. And the last thing with Black History Month is that on our next meeting, we will also be recognizing Curtis Robinson for his incredible generosity to the town, whether it's with the fire department or the police department, or just acting as liaison to bring food and shelter for people in this community. I had the privilege of working with Mr. Robinson and Sheila, his wife, through their foundation on a gas giveaway right here in Southington, where he gave so much money and we were able to provide gas for people who probably couldn't afford it. So we are going to recognize Mr. Robinson, Mrs. Robinson, and their foundation for all of the incredible work they have done over the years at our next meeting. And so I had a pleasure of talking with them today, and they're very excited. Now, so that's the second thing. The final thing I just want to say is that for the last, oh my goodness, since the summer, I've been working with Dave Falvo. People may know Dave Falvo as a member of the Board of Education, but Dave Falvo came to me and asked if it would be possible for us to do a resolution recognizing our individuals in a resolution who are from the LGBTQ community, and we do have a resolution today. Dave, are you on the meeting? I thought he was going to be there.
I am. Oh,
Excuse, oh, you are, Dave.
yeah.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything, Dave? At this point, I can't see you, so
Can you see me now?
let me see. I think
I
so.
put my.
Oh, there you are. I got it. I got it.
Oh, wait.
Thank you. Yep.
Is it going through? Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yep.
So I just had some quick remarks. So good evening, Madam Chair and council members. I want to thank you all for moving forward with this resolution for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. All of our citizens, regardless of sexual orientation and gender identity, deserve to be recognized for their contributions to the social, political, and community life in the town of Southington. Growing up in town, it wasn't always easy being gay in school. Many people held bigoted views towards me and others within the LGBTQ community. We have come a far way with LGBTQ rights in this country. More importantly, the City of Progress has become an accepting, loving home for the community. That is why I am so proud that the town council has decided to move forward with the resolution that includes a first ever Southington Pride Week. Once again, I thank you all for recognizing the LGBTQ community.
And thank you, David. If it wasn't for you coming forward and really kind of sticking with it with me over that, we went, I don't know how many times we met at Anthony Jack's, but we certainly have it's been a very interesting time for me and a very encouraging time for me in this community. So thank you, David. I appreciate it. I want to turn this over to Vice Chairman Lombardi. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Anthony Jacks meetings, that's news to me. Mr. Falvo does enjoy Anthony Jacks, so it's no wonder why there were so many meetings there. But we as a council, we received the resolution early this afternoon, and at this point, I would ask the town manager to read the resolution to the council and to the public at this moment.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Val?
before that's read, can we talk about the resolution that was sent to us?
You know, Val, let's go with the process. There'll be time for discussion for that. When it goes to the actual motion, there's a discussion period then, and we'll be very happy to discuss it then.
And so if there were going to be changes made to it, should that be made before the manager reads that?
Yeah, I'll rephrase my statement, Madam Chair. I would ask that the town manager read the resolution to the council and the public. After the resolution is read, I will make a motion to add the resolution under new business item C as an agenda item, and at that point we can have a further discussion on the resolution. So, Mr. Town Manager, please.
I don't, Tom, what I don't want to do is I don't want to get bogged down here and then
Right.
get bogged down later on. So what I'd like to do is just get the resolution on the floor, and we're going to go down when we get to that place in our agenda. We'll open it up for discussion. We can discuss it. We can do whatever we want to.
I gotta do some reading, Kath, hold on.
Correct.
Thank you, Val. So,
That's fine.
okay, thank you, Val. So, Mark, would you read it? And then, Tom, you're going to make a motion. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
All right, I'm just getting up on my screen. It's tough to do the screen both ways here, okay? Resolution, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Resolution of the Southington Town Council to recognize June 1st through June 7th, 2001 as Pride Week in the town of Southington. Whereas members of the town of Southington support the rights, freedoms, and equality of all citizens, including our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer questioning LBGT community. Whereas individuals of Southington who are part of the LBGT community have made and continue to make vital contributions to every aspect of life in Southington, including but not limited to areas of law, education, health, science, and research, business, the arts, civil rights, and politics. Therefore, the town of Southington recognizes the LGBTQ rights are human rights that are protected by the Constitution. 2, recognize that all citizens should be treated fairly and equally, regardless of sexual orientation. 3, agrees that the town of Southington will strive to ensure that the promise of equality is realized for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Town Council of the town of Southington declares June 1st through June 7th, 2021 as Pride Week in the town of Southington. Adopted by the Town Council, town of Southington, Connecticut on February 8th, 2001. Kathy Larkin, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Town Manager. At this point, I would like to make a motion to add under new business item C, and that would be adoption of the resolution.
Madam Chair, this is Bill. I second.
Okay. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Any opposed to putting it on the agenda? Very good. So that motion passes. It's item C on the agenda.
Vicky, before we move on, I have to object. Al has any comments that she wants to make. She has every right as a council member to speak right now. She does not need to wait till later in the meeting because we added an agenda item. So I'd like to defer to Val if she has comments that she'd like to make.
Well, what I would say to you, Chris, is this. I absolutely agree. Val can speak all she wants. She's a member of the town council. Of course. It was not meant to silence her in any way. All I was saying was that if we go forward, then we can all do it at the same time, and we're not going to spend back and forth because we started so late today. But you know what? If that makes Val feel better to talk about it now, she certainly can do it. She's a member of the council. But I thought
Well, Madam Chair, I would like to speak now because I would like to make sure that some of the changes or additions that I think are important out of respect for the LGBTQ community, I want to put that on the record now so that if anybody is going to speak at public communications, they will be able to speak. So here's what I would like to say. I, as a member of the LGBTQ community, you've been telling me for a number of months that you've been meeting and you've been very excited about this resolution, as am I, and I will definitely support this resolution. You had also said to me that you would pass along the draft so that I could review it. And the draft came on Friday afternoon. I reviewed it and I spoke with you on Saturday. And on Saturday, I told you about just, some concerns and some typos in the resolution. I just wanted it to be something that would be looked at, with a serious review. And I sent you some changes. I sent them to the vice chair and I sent them to my caucus. And I also copied Mr. Falvo. I did not hear anything back, with the exception of seeing this resolution today, as everybody did receive the resolution. So I do have some changes to it that I think are just really because I want us to respect the LGBTQ community. One thing is that we should recognize whether it's LGBTQ or whether we want to say LGBTQIA+.
Yes. That was
Okay.
just my attention.
That's just, and I realized that today after I did changes that you and I spoke about, that's probably the better way to have this referenced. There's a typo at the very top, June 1st through June 7th, THRU. It's not spelled correctly. You know, we should spell that correctly. In item number 1, recognizes the LGBTQ rights. It should be recognizes that LGBTQ rights. Item number 2, where we say recognizes that all residents should be treated fairly and equally regardless of sexual orientation. That should also include sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression, only because we're recognizing all of those members, you know, gay, bisexual, transgender. So we want to make sure we just say gender identity or gender expression as well. You know, that's really keeping it very basic. Those are just changes that I feel like we really should do that to show support to the community. I hope obviously that Dave Falvo would agree, you know, with those changes. I support this, but I am very disappointed that my feedback was just not validated. It was just disregarded, and that this is being rushed and it wasn't on the agenda. So other members of the LGBT community did not know that this was going to go forward today. And they should be here to be able to see that we're supporting them and celebrate that. And the Pride event is in June. There was no reason to rush this tonight. So I'm happy that we're doing it. Obviously, I applaud the work that Mr. Falvo and you did. I just really would like to see that we take this seriously, that it looks professional, that it accurately reflects the LGBTQIA+. And I think we owe that, to the LGBT community. So I thank you for letting me get that on the record before public communications and before the discussion, so that maybe people will be calling in and they have some input on this. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate that. This is time sensitive, and that's why we're doing it now. And the reason, and I would say that, whenever I know that the Southington Pride Committee, which you're on and Dave is on and all, there are many plans going forward. And I felt very strong. It's not too soon. It's already almost March. And so it takes a long time to put stuff together. And I wanted this to be foundational. And so that's why we're going to decide it tonight.
And that's fine, Madam Chair. Timing wise, that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that we're not rushing it and putting something out there that's not accurate. That's not respectful of the LGBT community.
And it's interesting now because, not being a member of the community, I was emailed and with the and is it is that
it would be LGBTQIA+, and that would be, the I is intersex, and the A is asexual and or ally. And I did some research on that today too, because I had a feeling that we were missing that piece. So I just think that's very important to have that accurate.
You know what? I appreciate that, but and I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it. It's just that we don't know what it is. I understand that you said that, and it can be added at a future time. I think that what we have in front of us is a great foundational thing. Obviously, if there's a spelling error or if there's a minor whatever it is, as you can tell, I did spell out the lesbian, gay. I had changed that LGBTQ to actually spelling it out in the first paragraph. That was your suggestion, and I did take that into consideration. One of the things I think that is very important in us with us today is that this is not to offend anybody. This is to acknowledge our friends in our community. I acknowledge the giftings that we have within our community for all people. And so I think that this right now, this will go to discussion at the end of the meeting. We will have a time if anyone wants to speak during public communication, that's fine. And then we will bring it about to a vote. And so we all appreciate that. This new added IA plus, I don't even know what that means. And so that can be added at a future time if it is necessary and if it reflects what we're trying to do with this. And but we need to be educated on it because it's not part of most of our background. So, but it's a first step. And that's what I wanted to say to everybody. This is a first step. This is not the last step. This is a fluid document. It will go forward and there will be changes from council to council. And, but it's very important that we take this step. You know, I saw Mr. Poulos, you put on Facebook, I think today, about that commercial from the Super Bowl. That was you, right, Chris? The one that was from Bruce Springsteen. It was so impactful that it was talking about common ground, that we come together and we have common ground. I think this resolution gives us common ground, but we'll all have a chance to talk further about it at the end of the meeting when we go for when we go. So so if there's nothing else, I want to continue with Councilmatic Communications. I've spoken long enough today. Does anyone else have Councilmatic Communication? It's Chris.
I don't know if we can do something. I'm still getting messages that people can't get into the meeting. I don't know if Kathy's here. I don't know if she can put something like a banner site with the proper link. I don't know, like Paul, there's a way I use Google Meets. There's a way to invite people in. I don't really see how I can do that, maybe because I'm not the host, but I don't know how to get people into the meeting that want to be a part of it.
Chris, I'm going to send you the link right now that you can forward to anybody as well that's contacting you.
Okay.
Kathy's on the line now. Kathy, you want to say anything?
Well, I was having trouble connecting as well. In fact, I am connected now, but you can't see me, or my mic. I don't have it's not detecting a microphone on my Chromebook. So I am here, but I'm not able to really participate.
Okay. I'll keep Kathy on my cell phone for roll calls and all that.
Okay. And people are saying that they're clicking the link and it's saying the meeting has not started yet. So I don't know, Paul, the only thing I can think of is maybe it's a prior link, like it's maybe a link to another meeting. That's why it's saying it hasn't started yet. I don't know.
The link is also, I just got something from Susan Bahansky.
The link is the wrong link, you guys. The one on the website's the wrong link. So is it possible, Kathy, to change the link on the town website?
Right.
I do not have the correct link.
It is posted. The correct link is on Southington Talks, I believe. Southington Talks Freely. Just a second. That's what I'm hearing anyway from someone who's posted on Southington Talks.
Maybe Paul could email the correct link to Kathy so she could put it on the Southington website.
I did that.
She has it.
Yeah, you have that, Kat.
I do have it. I can log.
Yeah. If you log, you can log right now. If you have the link, you can put it on the website. I can't do it.
I will try to do that right now.
Okay, very good, Kat.
It's also on Southington Happenings. Someone's posted the correct.
Madam Chair, Southington Talks Freely and Southington Happenings are closed Facebook groups. Not every resident is a member of those groups. So we need to have a different access route into the meeting for the public.
So why don't we just
Isn't it
wait
right?
for the town clerk to update the town website? And
Yeah, let Kathy update it, and then we should be okay.
should we take a 5-minute recess, or how long are we thinking that's going to take?
I would suggest that Councilman Communications you can continue with, but we can't take any actions until the public is able to get in.
Right.
Okay. And it's recorded, so anything that
Yep.
Councilman says, okay.
All right. So then let's continue. Jeremy, is that okay? We can continue with Councilmatic Communications? I don't want to
Yes.
leave anybody out, but
No, you should be fine. We just want to make sure that the public has a chance to comment at some point tonight.
just want to make sure of that. Mike Del Santo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmatic Communications, correct?
Yes.
Okay, the only thing I wanted to bring up tonight is that folks know that the Economic Strike Committee started a marketing campaign. We're about a month and a half, almost 2 months, actually about 2 months into our campaign. And I just wanted to share with the group that there is a page out there called csouthington.com. And I defer to Mr. Chaplinsky, who's going to share his screen and show us the site. There's a quick video, and there's some listings on the csouthington.com site where they list local businesses in town. So if everyone can please, I'm going to share this later on my social media and some of the public social media sites. So if anyone could chip in and please share that link. The idea is to help Southington businesses in these trying times, which they need it the most. And there'll be more to follow in my report for the Economic Strike Committee later on. But right now, Paul, if you wouldn't mind just showing that quick video to all of us here so we can see it.
Can you see the screen okay, Mike?
Yeah.
We could, yes.
Okay, I think the audio should play as well. So just if the video is pretty short. So here we go.
So that's a great little video. And also on the site, there is a listing for, like I said, for local businesses that could just share their own website. And like I said, there'll be a little bit more to follow later on when we talk about the Economic Strike Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. It's a great video. Anybody else have Councilmatic Communications? Yes, Chris Poulos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple items. On January 27th, the Volunteer Firefighter Recruitment Committee met for the first time in over a year because we stopped meeting due to COVID. And we got together. Chief Paul was there and others. And we just got an update on the volunteer firefighter recruitment situation. Unfortunately, due to COVID, there were 13 recruits, but only 3 were able to complete the class. You can imagine that training is difficult, obviously in person. And then online training is limited. It has its limits as well. And so, but we did get 2 volunteers at Company 1 and 1 at Company 2. They're going to begin January. They began this year, January 2021. The committee, along with discussing the situation for getting people in the classes, the update was that there are 6 in the current class. And then of those 6, 3 are ones people that we got back in that had dropped out because of COVID last year. So we have 6 current trainees. The second item we talked about is how we can do recruiting for volunteer firefighters in a state of COVID, just with the health situation. So social media is going to be leveraged as much as possible because that's something people can do from anywhere. Doesn't require to be in person. There was some talk about talking to Mount Southington. The numbers of people going to Mount Southington have increased dramatically, even though they have limited occupancy there. They're having one of their best years yet. So maybe trying to ask the mountain if they would put up signage for for volunteer firefighters, people that are interested, maybe on a chairlift pole. And as the weather gets warmer, maybe we could ask some of our other venues in town, like the golf courses, other outdoor venues, if they would also help promote. And there was an inquiry about maybe having some sort of recruitment in a subtle way on Linear Trail. That's something I'll bring to the Linear Trail committee that I'm working on with Mr. Chaplinsky, that might be able to be incorporated into that project. So lots of ideas were flowing. It was really just a meeting to get ourselves back into coordinated, and we're going to be meeting about every month from now on. So I'll have more updates for you on that.
Very good.
I do have one more item, and I just wanted to reference Councilwoman DePaulo's comments. I agree with Councilwoman DePaulo. I have a high respect for her and her perspective, and I just it's concerning to me. The optics are concerning to me that we have a meeting with Councilperson Communications where the public is having trouble getting in, and people are sharing very important views, and there's this possibility that they're not heard by people that might have wanted to hear those views. I just wanted to say that that's a concern of mine. I think our public needs to be as informed as possible on these matters and our deliberations and the viewpoints that we share as council people. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chris.
Madam Chair, Kathy Larkin is back on, and she could confirm that we're back up and running. Go ahead, Kathy.
Great. Oh, yeah, we're up to 32, 33.
Yes, the link that is on the calendar is now working.
Wonderful. Very
So
good.
people will be able to join in by going to the calendar and click on the WebEx link.
Yep. Welcome, everybody. Yep. We're up to 33 or 34 people. So that's great, Kathy. Thank you so much. I know it was a hassle. I'm not sure what it was or how we fixed it, but thank you for fixing it. Very good. Any other councilmatic communications? Yes, Tom. Tom, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Madam Chair. On January 31st, which was last Sunday, Council Chairwoman Triano, myself, Councilman Chaplinsky, Councilman Del Santo, we attended the grand opening for the Lion's Den Coffee Shop in downtown Plantsville. It was actually my first time there, and I was able to take a look at the coffee shop and grab a coffee. Excellent little place downtown Plantsville. So congratulations to Lion's Den in downtown Plantsville. That's all I have this evening, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes. Chris Palmieri has his hand raised. Chris, go ahead.
Yes, a couple things. First of all, I just want to save my comments for later. I do not see why it needs to be rushed tonight. It wasn't even on the agenda, and to add something on the agenda and defer comments. But like I said, I'll hold off on those comments later. A couple things that I wanted to share. I think David may still be here, but I did attend the Board of Education meeting last week. And Vicky, I know you had reached out to Terry, so she did mention the conversation that we and the action that we took with regards to Southington Country Club. So I'm pleased to say the Board of Education took a consensus, and they were united as well. Certainly with the benefits of moving forward with the with the process for the referendum for Southington Country Club for the development rights. So I just wanted to report back some good news with that, and obviously they see the benefit of it as we do. Yes, and then the last thing, I reached out to Mark, and Mark was helpful, but I want to share this for residents because as we're going through our revaluation, there was some concern that if people were questioning their revaluation as indicated through the mail, and they were calling in, that they would be required to attend a meeting in person. And as we know, some people are not comfortable doing that with everything going on. So Mark assured me that those meetings can take place virtually. So if there are any residents that were concerned that they can't bring forward those issues because they have to attend a face-to-face meeting and they're not comfortable doing so, they can request a hearing virtually. So I appreciate that, Mark, and for any resident out there that may have that concern, at least that can be alleviated.
Very good. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Councilmatic communications.
Madam Chair? Just quickly, I just wanted to follow up on Mark's, our town manager's letter, February 2nd, on the net increase on the grand list. And just, to reiterate, thanks to all the staff and the department heads, all the employees, all the work that was done for that. It really does take a lot of people. And, it's great during a difficult time of COVID that we're able to have this net increase in the grand list. So just good job to all that played a role in that.
Okay, very good. Any other councilman? Anything? Great. So hearing none, let's move on to report on special committees. Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had our meeting last Wednesday. A couple of events occurred during the meeting. Police chief discussed the situation that's going on over at Thalberg School. Is that I guess a lot of parents are not sending their children on the bus. So there's some traffic backups in the afternoon. There's a lot of parents picking up their students from the school, and it's creating somewhat of a little traffic hazard over at Thalberg School. But the chief is on it. He's sending some officers there. But as we all know, we can't do that every day. So he has a meeting coming up with the Board of Education, with the school administrators to try to rectify the situation. They're even doubling up the queue inside the perimeters of the school, but it's still leaking out onto the road, which is creating some traffic difficulties. So the chief assures us he's working on it, and we hope by the next Public Works meeting, he'll have a better resolution for us on that. The transfer station, the new scanners and software are in place. I'm proud to say that I went Saturday morning, and I actually went early, about 10 after 8, and there was no line. And I was all excited, and the guy had the old scanner in his hand, and I said, but I've got my new sticker. So Mr. Hansen was there, and he took out his phone, and he scanned my window, and I was customer number 1 for the new scanning system. And it's great. The make and model of my car came up, and you're able to put what you're bringing, whether it's burnable or metal. So it's a great little system. I'm hoping at our next Public Works meeting, we'll have a better realization of who's using the transfer station, which is good stuff. The next issue was snow. We've had a couple of,
Mike,
Chris, go ahead.
Before you move on from that, just because it's about the transfer station,
Sure.
Kathy, can you talk a little bit about the process, because they can no longer get the permit from your office? So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Kathy? Well, or maybe Mike, because she
that's okay. Chris, instead of the town hall, they can go right to the highway department on Mulberry Street to get the passes. But Kathy, if you're up and running, go right ahead.
Yep, we're directing directly the highway department garage. Their hours are a little bit different, but they do have the option to mail in a form. So if they're not able to go there, they can mail in that form. They could do it anytime now, so that if they're not ready to go until the spring, they'll get their sticker in the mail by then. So there's 2 ways they can do that, at their office or the mail-in form.
I think
right.
that's
and the 2020 stickers are good until March 31st, right? Or March?
Correct.
Right. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead. I stepped on you there. What was that?
No, I'm just saying thank you. I think that's important for the residents to know. Kathy, is there a way you can put that again right on the banner on the home page, just so people know the change? And it's more convenient, quite frankly, that they could just mail it in. So it's just a matter of communicating that information.
Yeah, that option was always there to mail it in, but we're promoting it more now so that people are aware because of the difference in the hours.
Yep. There's signage also, Kathy, that you've put up around the building, so people who come in know that too. So that's very good. Yeah, very good.
Right.
Very
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Chris. So moving on, snow is the next issue. Last Monday, we had that huge storm, and Southington received 17.5 inches of snow, which was the most in Hartford County. And then yesterday, we got another 8 inches of snow. So it was the snow's been really cranking this year for some reason. There's going to be an event tomorrow, and then possibly Friday, and again on Sunday. So get your shovels ready, get your snow blowers fixed. And I want to commend the town for doing a great job. This morning, I drove into work, into Meriden, and all the roads in Southington were phenomenal at 7 o'clock this morning. So great job by our Public Works crew, and all the folks down at the Highway Department doing a great job. The engineering report was kind of the same old story, same old song and dance. The Department of Transportation is really dragging their feet on a lot of our projects. The project of the rails and trails from Lazy Lane to the Plainville town line is being held up again because of the Department of Transportation. It's unfortunate. I don't think that that the Marion Avenue Bridge they're planning on doing this summer, but it doesn't look like the Department of Transportation is going to be enough, and they can only do that project in the summer when the water levels are the lowest. So if they wait till the fall, the water levels may be too high to do that. So that may have to wait until next year to be done. And they're also kind of holding up the Planceville Safety Project downtown Planceville. So we're hoping that the Department of Transportation gets back to work full-fledged so they can kind of push these projects along. But unfortunately, at this point, we're at their mercy. Some good news is the Spring Street Bridge is just about ready to go. The company has been chosen to do the construction, and so that should be scheduled hopefully very soon. And the Spring Street turning lane onto Route 10 is just about at the end of all the meetings, and that should be happening soon as well, which we're all very excited for. The report from the Water Department, Mr. Casarello is on the line. Southington needs to chip in. There's 1,500 water hydrants that need to be shoveled out. So if you do live near a hydrant, if you can please assist out the Water Department and the Fire Department and your neighbors by clearing out the snow around the hydrants. And then Mr. Casarella brought up that last year we were very successful in the odd even watering for lawns, and he sincerely believes that going forward that may be the norm. We discussed that at length at the meeting, and the question came up, what do we do with folks who violate it? And that's a little trickier because we would have to maybe set up an ordinance if there was any type of punishment for the people that violate the odd even watering. So he said the way of the future is that the odd even works in other communities. And we are thinking, unless there's heavy rain to satisfy the water tables, the odd even watering may be the norm going forward. So that's all I had. Chris was there. Mr. Chaplinsky was there. Anything to add, Mr. Poulos?
Yes, Mr. Del Santo. I just wanted to add that during our update on the Planceville Safety Improvement Project, we briefly discussed the intended use of the corner parcel next to the Hop House that the town council recently voted to purchase. And during the update, I shared with Public Works Committee that this area has been designated with specific language in the sales contract that its intended purpose is to be a corner park. Now, you and Mr. Chaplinsky know this because you're on the council, but the other members of the Public Works Committee, this was our first meeting since that we voted on that acquisition. And so as such, the parcel will be developed in a way that beautifies Planceville, it makes the intersection safer, it creates a pleasant atmosphere, all aiming to attract folks from local businesses, folks to the local businesses in this part of our town. That doesn't mean like any other use of the parcel beyond these functions could be placed on the agenda. It could be discussed and it could be voted on by this or any future council. And this would allow for residents and local businesses to weigh in during a public comment. And so I shared that with the Public Works Committee. I support the approach. I think it honors the seller's intent, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Mike,
Yep.
Anything else? Anyone other questions?
Yeah, I do, Mike.
Yes,
Mike,
Madam Chair.
My question is that we've had 26 inches of snow. And when we're talking about going odd even before we even know what the water table is, I find a little concerning. So I'm looking forward to more discussion on that right now. I mean, obviously in February, we certainly that 26 inches will not carry us through the summer, but it's a good start. And so,
Right.
So I hope we can have more discussion on it later before the recommendation is to implement. And if we have enough water, there's no reason just because other towns are doing it that we would initiate. You know what I'm saying, Mike? Initiate.
I do, Madam Chair. Obviously, that would be a game time decision.
Yeah.
But the reason I think that Mr. Casarella kind of broached the subject is that Doing the odd even this past summer, I'm not sure. I have sprinklers on my lawn, and I did the odd even. I just set my sprinklers to go off on, to correlate with my house number, and I didn't see much of a difference. So other people may feel differently. So obviously, more to follow. We have a few months to go before watering of lawns begins, but point taken, Madam Chair. We'll definitely enter into further discussion with regards to it.
I have great faith with Mr. Casarella, but I just
Of
didn't
course.
make that point. So thank you. Anybody else? Councilmatic Communications for Public Works.
Madam
Just
Chair.
oh,
Chris,
Go
if
ahead,
you don't
Chris
mind,
Palmieri, I think. Oh, go
I
ahead,
just,
Paul.
I just have one logistical thing, Madam Chair. Number one, your mic is still going downward. I think it's getting worse. So please do everything you can to get close. We could just barely hear you. And I would just ask everybody who's not talking, including town council members, to please keep your phones on mute and unmute yourself when you're going to speak or ask a question. It's really helpful because there's background noise. And if anybody gets muted, I'm muting the people who seem to be having some feedback. So please don't take offense. I'm just trying to make the meeting run smooth for folks who are trying to listen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I will try my best. Thank you. Mike, we are going to economic strike.
Madam Chair, I think Chris Palmieri had something for Public Works.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris, please.
That's okay. I just wanted to say I agree with Mike that I do. I think it's best practice that we do adhere to that odd even rotation just for water conservation. And again, it's just best practice. So and furthermore, I believe that's a decision of the Board of Water Commissioners. Mark, maybe you can let me know versus the Public Works Committee.
Yeah, right now, we've had this conversation with Mr. Casarella, and I know Mike's been involved in this. Right now, they could impose that, but there's no teeth in what they do. So in a situation we may be discussing down the road with Mr. Casarella and the Board of Water Commissioners is that with the town's cooperation in a situation where they declare we're in a drought, and there's a lot of criteria that goes into that to declare a drought condition. And if that happens, the town will enter discussions probably in the spring to see if there's an enforcement mechanism that we can do if there's a declared drought. But certainly it's not something that the Board of Water Commissioners just says, okay, we're going to do this or that. It has to be, there's criteria that has to be followed. So Mike is absolutely right, policy aspects of it, but in the drought situation, there's criteria that has to be followed.
Very good.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
And I also want to be careful here. I wasn't going to say anything on this, but since we continue to discuss this topic, I think it's a dangerous slope that we get ourselves into because, like you said, we don't know what the summer is going to look like, and to have a policy that is also difficult to enforce and might not give us the results that we want. I think we all have to be very careful about the policies we put in place. Just as an example, Chris, you had mentioned it's best practice to water our lawns every other day. I could water my lawn with 10,000 gallons every other day, or I can water my lawn with 1,000 gallons every day. What would you rather have? So, I think we have to be careful because, we could say every other day, but the intended consequence could be that everybody triples their water usage every other day, and it starts to, have the opposite effect. So, whatever discussion occurs in the future, I think we have to be very careful about what the unintended consequences might be.
Paul, all I was saying is best practice is to conserve the use of water, not necessarily every other day with just water conservation in general. That's what I'm saying is best practice.
I get concerned about, implying, because when somebody says that they want to have an ordinance done, what that means is they want to be able to fine people and actually have somebody get a fine for doing every other day when that person may, on a per square footage basis, may not be.
Let's not get too far off course here. That's not what Mr. Casarella said. Mr. Casarella said that in a drought condition, which is a very serious condition, Mike Del Santo is talking about something else. He's talking about a policy. I understand that. I'm talking about an ordinance, if it's requested, will be specifically for a drought condition where it's dangerous and therefore public potable water could have trouble getting to our homes. That's a criteria where we're going to have people stop doing their lawns. We had that for a brief time last summer, but I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves. It's February, and we'll talk about it later on in the year.
That was going to impose jail time, but
Let's just go on, please.
All right.
Anything else? Any other committees want to be heard tonight? Okay.
Did we get
Madam
strike?
Chair, we've got to do the economic
Strike.
development
The strike committee, yes.
strike committee.
Go ahead, Mike.
Doing myself there. It seems like I'm doing all the work tonight, Madam Chair. I'm joking. But economic strike committee meeting, we met last Thursday. It was a brief meeting. There was one item on. We had a brief meeting with the marketing company for Southington's marketing campaign. Rebel out of Southington is handling the marketing campaign. There was some concerns. The strike committee made it very clear to Rebel that they were a little underwhelmed with the progress of the marketing campaign thus far. And Rebel listened, and they're very open to hear any suggestions that we may have going forward. So obviously, Madam Chair, more to follow on that as well. And there was another item on the Economic Strike Committee meeting, but unfortunately that was an executive session, and I'm not at liberty to discuss those.
Of course.
Any questions?
Any questions for Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Any other committees? Hearing none, let's move on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item I have was touched upon by Mr. Del Santo. This is the Spring Street Bridge contract. Several weeks ago, you put together the consultant agreement for this particular bridge contract. This is one that went out to bid, and we're recommending that the bid be awarded to Dayton Construction Company of Watertown, Connecticut, for the number of $1,931,900. Happy to answer any questions on that. This is long overdue, and I'll give a little bit of kudos. Thank you for the state for signing off on this so we can move forward, because I can't upset him as much as Mike did. I need to work with him every day. So any questions?
I have one, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Town Manager, Dayton Construction, if I recall, they have done work in town before, and have they not? Or the name does sound familiar?
They don't ring a bell, but they may have. I don't remember every contractor. So they do bridge work, so they probably did a bridge before.
Yeah, maybe. I know they're very reputable.
Yeah, they were fully checked out, obviously, by our guys plus AECOM, who's our consultant. They've been checked out and thoroughly vetted.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no further questions, the next item I had, we discussed in executive session, but now we're here in public session. The Board of Fire Commissioners, through Acting Chief Paul, will be requesting a support from the council in my office to apply for a SAFER grant. The chief is on. Chief, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. The chief is on to explain the process. Some of you remember this process, but some of you do not. So let's start, Chief, and explain the process and how this would work for the town of Southington.
Okay, so let me just explain exactly what SAFER is. SAFER is from FEMA, and it's a staffing for adequate fire and emergency response grants. It was created basically for funding for fire departments and volunteer fire interest organizations to help them increase or maintain the number of trained or frontline firefighters available. The goal of SAFER was to comply with staffing and response, which will improve response times and operational standards, which is established by NFPA 1710 and or 1720. The great news that we just received is there will be no cost share to the town of Southington for 3 years. Wow. The other great news that we found out as of today, it will include raises, which include step raises for the following 3 years in that process. So that was unlike last year, which obviously is better for all of us. That SAFER grant for those 3 firefighters will be for Station 3. Station 3 is at 35 Clark Street, which is all the way in the south end of town by the bowling alley. That company currently is down to 5 active members. Really, there's 7 on the roster, but 2 of those are on leave of absences when I don't know or if they'll even return. So during the daytime, we have no or zero, I should say, coverage in the south end of town. So I'm looking for the town council and town manager support for applying for the SAFER grant. But the great news out of all of this is there's no cost share, which I'm not going to say it's a surprise, but it's a happy surprise for all of us. That's for sure.
Before there's any questions for the chief, I just want to talk about how the budgeting process works. As I mentioned to all of you when we discussed this matter in executive session, is that I have a responsibility, obviously, to the council and to the town not to develop a cliff. By that means some towns may simply say, okay, fine, we'll take 3 firefighters on. We won't budget because we're going to be getting 3 years of 100%. We're just going to buy their equipment and that's it. In my humble opinion, that's irresponsible budgeting. So what I'll be doing is, assuming the council chooses to move forward with this and the grant is obtained, and I think it's August or September is when we find out about it, I will prepare in this year's budget and subsequent budgets that after 3 years, there will not be a cliff. So we'll be building a little bit of a reserve each year, so there will be no cliff on that. My concern with grants, they're great, and it was great news when the chief told me it's 100%. But that's just something that my office has to be aware of, and you have to be aware of, that we don't develop a cliff. That's great news, but we still have to prepare for year 4.
Mark, also, just to let you know, the grant opened today. It's a short period grant, so it closes March 12th. And from now to then, there's a ton of research and data that we have to pull from all levels. So the 2 grant writers are Battalion Chief Eric Heath and Firefighter Danny Coleman, who have done a tremendous job. I can't thank them enough. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. They won't sleep for the next 5 weeks, but we'll get submitted if you all approve tonight. So thank you.
What I'd like to do, Madam Chair, is open it to questions from the council. And then if any public has questions, they can ask during the public communication. And the chief is going to stay for the whole meeting so he can answer the questions at public communication. But this is during my report, I would suggest just the council ask the chief questions.
Very good. Does anyone in the council have any questions for Acting Chief Paul? I see Paul's hand was up first. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to maybe talk a little bit about it, can you talk a little bit about the specifics on how the resources will be deployed? Where they'll be deployed, and maybe a little bit about the benefit that it'll bring if successful.
Sure. Well, they'll be deployed from Station 3, which, like I said, is in the south end of town, because right now, Councilor, we have 0 coverage during the day in the south end of town. So they will respond with 3 personnel on an engine covering the entire south end. As we know, the south end has 2 major highways, 84 and 691, along with Meriden Waterbury Road, which just continues to grow all the way up to West Street. Depending on the call type and depending on the activity level during the day of the fire department, or really of the town, they could be deployed anywhere. So it's not just going to be the south end of town. Their focus will be the south end of town, because right now on a good day, without 2 feet of snow out there, it takes us 6 to 8 minutes, some parts of town 10 to 12 minutes just to get to out of headquarters. And that's if the on-duty crews are available. There'll be a lieutenant assigned to that engine company, so they'll have supervision on it. So that's basically how they'll be deployed. It'll be a Monday through Friday shift. So that's the start. So Monday through Friday, we can expect to have decreased response times, which is only good for those that we serve. So there's many levels that this will serve on a great basis for our community.
And thank you, Chief. I know that the volunteer force is an integral part of the operations of the overall team. And so, can you comment a little bit about how the volunteer force will work in conjunction with this? Because I'm sure you're starting to think about the planning in the future should this be successful. Just recognizing the fact that maybe there's going to be some thoughts about how the volunteers will interact with the full-time staff. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, because I think that, I'm sure you recognize that the volunteers also play an important role. And, we just heard a little earlier in the day, Councilor Poulos gave an update on a couple new recruits. So that's really good. If you could just give a little bit of thought, a little bit of background on that, I'd really appreciate that as well.
Sure. I mean, the volunteers are integral in our community, in our fire department. So their response will be the same as it is today, unless some things change. I don't see that changing. Right now, though, is what we had to do as of a couple of weeks ago is, because our daytime response is so lacking, is that I had to add another company, which is Company 2 out of Plantsville, to all of the calls that Company 3 is actually dispatched to. And that is just to get the number of people on scene in a timely fashion that I possibly can. Is that going to work every time? Probably not. Am I already looking into the future beyond that? I am. It's just that the volunteers are outstanding to the department and to the workforce and the community. It's just that, right now during the days, we just don't have any down in the south end of town.
Yeah, and I know that things have changed over the time, with respect to work, and I know jobs have changed and the abilities to be flexible. So thank you, Chief. I appreciate your responses and appreciate you being here tonight.
You're welcome.
Very good. Anybody else have a question for Acting Chief? Yeah, Val?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I think Councilperson Palmieri wanted to ask a question too, so I'll defer to him first.
He did? Chris Palmieri?
Palmieri.
Palmieri?
Thank you. That's all right, Val. Go ahead. And
Are you sure?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I know I saw your hand for a while. So, Chief, just a quick question. You had mentioned, so the cost share is at 100% for the 3 years, but then you said something about this, a step in the raises too. Can you I just don't know what that means. I just wanted to.
So any other associated costs moving forward in the 3 years, being the step raises in the contract, because there's step raises in the contract built in for the firefighters, those will also be covered. Whereas in last year, it was not. And also last year in the beginning was not 100% covered by cost share. So
the step raises, so those weren't covered in the past.
They were not, no. So
Okay.
the step raises moving forward for those 3 years will be covered by the SAFER grant.
Okay, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Chris Palmieri?
Thank you. First of all, thanks to the chair and Vice Chair Chris Shanley Buck. So thank you for being here. I'm not sure if anyone else from the commission is here, but thank you for being here. Chief, I want to thank you. Just that information is huge for us because, as Mark shared, that was really a factor in the past. It was not fully funded over the years, so that change is really huge and beneficial for our community. I also know, really working with the last probably 3-4 chiefs, that you all have taken a really close look at how to operate efficiently during the day. So I want to thank you for that. And I feel confident, not just from you, but from your predecessors as well, all telling us similarly that there's just not enough manpower during the day. So I think this SAFER grant would be really beneficial for the community. And I think there's clear need. Mark, I also want to thank you because I know you and I have in the past have talked about that cliff concern. So I think the fact that you're trying to plan and be proactive is really beneficial for the community as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the council? Okay, thank you, Chief. We appreciate your input. Appreciate it, but I'd like you to hang around for public communication in case someone has a question, direct question. I know Eric Keith is also on the line. If you could hang in there, Eric, in case someone has a question. So
I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good. Okay, Mr. Town Manager.
Madam Chair, the last item I have is the supervisors union contract. Let me first start by saying that last March, we all know what happened to town operations last March. This particular group, all the town employees did a great job, but I must say this particular group, the supervisors, were never out of work. They were here with me, with all the non-union supervisors every day from March through the whole pandemic, including today. That being said, I'm happy to say that we've come to a tentative agreement based upon approval by the council. It is very similar. In fact, it's identical to the contracts you've approved over the last year and a half. It's 6.5%, 2.25 in year 1, 2.25 in year 2, and 2% in year 3. This is retroactive back to July 1st. We've also reached our goal, which is the 22% premium share, which we've been trying to do over many years, and we've handled up to that point. As with the previous collective bargaining agreement that we discussed 2 meetings ago, there are a couple of positions that HR and myself, as well as the union, upgraded a small amount. So those are the ones where the work has increased and the, let's be honest, the salary did not. So based upon the department heads, the non-union department heads, their recommendations in HR, the three positions are deputy assessor, town treasurer, assistant finance director, and assistant highway superintendent. So I hope that you agree with the administration that this is a contract that needs to be ratified. Any questions on that?
No, I want
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have for tonight.
I want to thank the supervisors union also. They've done a tremendous job during this pandemic, and we appreciate all of their work and appreciate this this contract. Thank you so much, Mark, for everything. Anybody else have questions for the town manager before we move on? Okay, hearing none, let's go right to the town attorney's report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a very brief report tonight. Every about 6 to 8 weeks, I like to report back to the town council and the general public about any pending litigation that the town's involved in. Right now, our docket is pretty light. We do have 2 tax appeals that are currently pending in court right now. They're based on property taxes, personal property taxes, not real estate taxes. And there has been a lot of negotiations back and forth between the parties. So we're hoping for some resolution that satisfies both parties on this. And we have one zoning violation litigation that we've been involved with the resident, as well as the town council has been involved with working with the resident. And we're hoping to come to a resolution in that right now as well. Some of these cases are going a little slower than usual just because we're still doing a lot of remote hearings with the judicial system. So there's not in-person hearings. Remote hearings, unfortunately, are slowing us down a little bit and take a little more time. Everybody's just getting used to sharing evidence and, doing these total Zoom conference calls. Judges are getting used to this as well. So, we're moving at a snail's pace, but we are still progressing with these cases. So it's the winter time. There's a lot of snow on the ground. There's not a lot of, investigation we're able to do with our zoning enforcement officers right now, but we are taking any violations and complaints seriously and pursuing them. And that's about all I have for tonight. If there's any questions.
Sure. Does anybody have any question to the town attorney? Well, Jeremy, thank you. There doesn't seem to be any questions. Good job tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, we come to the point in the agenda for public communication. We know there's 41 participants online, and we know that some of the information that was received tonight, some of the items are controversial, or some people have very passionate views on things. So what I would ask everyone just to remember to be respectful. We'll be respectful back to you, and we are all trying to find a better way of moving forward in the community. And so I just want to preface that because when you have certain topics that are close to people's hearts, we still need to hear one another. And so being respectful is the best way to do it. So having said that, Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you. We have many people on line and also on the phone. So Paul, why don't you take it from here? You're on mute, Paul. Can't hear you.
My apologies. I was having problems hearing again, so I changed my speakers out for the headset, and I think it's a little bit better. Okay. So thank you, Madam Chair. So it looks like it looks like there's one call-in user, Madam Chair. So, maybe what we could do is take the call-in user first, since we only have one of them. So what I'd like to offer is, if the call-in user would like to speak now during public communications, they have to press *6 to unmute their phone. The call-in user, if you'd like, there's only one of you. If you'd like to speak now during public communication, press *6. That will unmute your line, and you'll be able to speak now during public communications. Okay. It doesn't look like the call-in user is going to speak. Madam Chair, if it's okay, let's see. I'm trying to see if we have anybody here. Should I open up the chat function, Madam Chair, and ask people to just, if they want to, if they would like to speak, what they can do is, since they're at their computer, they can just type that I would like to speak, and what we'll do is take them in the order at which they're typing in the chat function,
Sounds
if
great.
that's
Very
okay with
good.
you.
And also, I just want to mention that we have a 5-minute rule for any public communication. Very good.
Okay. I think I just unlocked the chat function. So if there's anybody who's on the computer that would like to speak now, Alicia Novi, looks like you're the first. At least we know that the chat is working again. That's great. So why don't we take, let's just make sure here, make sure we didn't miss anybody. Starting from the top. Okay, it is Miss Novi. If you would like to unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Hi, my name is Alicia Novi. I live at 41 Hill Street, Burlington, Connecticut. I am a member of our LGBTQIA+ community. I am also the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals for this town. So I'm one of the out and proud queer members of our community in Southington. I would like to ask that that I wasn't here and able to get into the resolution that was offered tonight. However, I am aware that the resolution is not as inclusive as it can be. Also, I'd like to add that I am one of the founders of Southington Pride 2021, so I am working towards building a larger, more inclusive gay community in Southington. I would like to ask that you guys please take into serious consideration what was put forward by Val DiPaolo, that the language of the resolution needs to be inclusive of everybody in the LGBTQIA+ community. There are people who are being excluded from your resolution, and that is not what we are looking for in this town. We are trying to provide an open and affirming place, and by leaving out members of our group who are even actually in our Pride community, you're not telling them that they are welcome in this town. And I'd also like to ask that you use gender affirming language. People who often feel that their gender identity does not match their expression, and we should take that into account. The more neutral language we can use, the better, so that everybody feels included. And even those people who don't know yet if what their gender identity is need to be considered in this. I'd hate to rush through something that would maybe not get. We would like you to read this proclamation at our Pride ceremony. I'm not sure it would go over as well at our Pride ceremony if it was not inclusive of everybody who would be there. And I really hope that you take Val's comments to heart and that you make the appropriate changes before adopting this resolution. I'd like to thank you all for your time tonight. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you for your service to the community as well. Okay, it looks like, Madam Chair, the next person up to speak, Mitchell Olivia, not Olivia, Mitchell Oliva. Oliva. My apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correct. Maybe you can state your name and address for the record so I can also get that correct.
You're totally good. Yep. My name is Mitchell Oliva. I live at 143 Washington Drive in Southington. I'm one of the members as well of Southington Pride, which we're helping to form in town, including events from May 22nd to June 6th, with a variety of different functions between family events, educational panels, partnerships with businesses to continue to promote Pride and support nonprofits in town. So I'm very excited about this resolution and would just kind of like to add on to what Alicia had said as well. About the language being inclusive. One of the terms that we're really focusing on in our efforts and in our efforts with education and awareness is for the language to include a couple of things. So the first one is LGBTQIA+. What that means is that the L is for lesbian, the G is for gay, the B is for bisexual, the T is for transgender, Q for questioning, I for intersex, and A for asexual. One of the things that we have been working with is we've been working with Southington High's Gay Straight Alliance. We have also been working with the Connecticut Pride Network. And one of the areas that's been a challenge for a lot of different communities, especially the intersex and the asexual community, is making sure that they have representation in language. So 2% of the population in the United States is intersex, which is the same amount of the population that has red hair. So that's something that we would love to be able to continue to advocate for the intersex community, as well as the asexual community, which makes up about 1% of the United States population. Further, we're very excited and looking forward to continuing to get to work with not only members of the town council, but other committees and community organizations to be able to put this on and continue to promote Southington and promote Southington as a diverse and inclusive community, and kind of make a name for ourselves in central Connecticut and Connecticut as a whole.
Mitchell, thank you for correcting me on the name as well. And thanks for all you're doing in the community as well, Mitchell.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Chair, it looks like Mark. I don't see a last name, but if there's a Mark who would like to speak. Hi, Mark. Please go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Palmieri. I live at 1131 West Center Street in Southington. And I want to echo what some of my peers have shared. I come tonight as a lifelong born here resident of Southington. So happy to have purchased our home here, and as a father. So myself and my husband live here in town. We're raising our child here, and we're committed to Southington's growth. And I want to recognize and appreciate the effort in developing statements that attempt to affirm a sense of equality, a sense of social justice, and a sense that all families and individuals are valued in our community. The effort there is appropriate, and the changes that are also, in my opinion, appropriate don't take away from the importance of action. And so I thank everyone for that. That said, the questions around an LGBTQIA plus language in the document aren't ones, in my opinion, of sort of preference that, oh, we would like to have those in there. That is a contemporary, appropriate use of terminology. It's well understood. It's well accepted. It will evolve, I'm sure. But at present, and with new proclamations, in my opinion, it's appropriate to be contemporary in our language, inclusive in our language, in a document that intends to be inclusive, and that we are focused on being up to date and open to educating ourselves as to the current breadth of a community, inclusion of that community, and to some of my peers' points, the numbers of folks who represent that community around us. Similarly, issues of gender expression and an attention to that within a document is appropriate. It represents the current struggles, the current concerns, and a modern, using Southington's language in support of it, city of progress approach to our efforts. And so I would encourage that reflection. As a parent in town, one of the things that I value tremendously is our schools. I've always experienced Southington as a location that champions its schools. It would be nice to have added attention to our youth in a document like this. Clearly, everyone is captured when we say all residents, but sometimes added attention matters. And for often the most vulnerable among us, our youngest citizens, it's relevant to show that we are attending to their needs and that we care. And their inclusion in a document of this nature would be so appropriate. And I would ask that that be considered. I would also encourage that when championing statements of this nature, which are, again, so valued, focus groups, stakeholder groups, get together some parents who are raising children in town and who have worries and fears, real ones. Bring people together and talk. I don't know if that happened. If it hadn't, I'd encourage that also be engaged, so that when you organize documents designed to champion inclusiveness, which again are so appreciated, you consider that. You bring together individuals that represent all facets of a community and across the lifespan, from our youth through our most seniors, and that we bring together a group of folks who can give you an honest, shared impression of their experience in Southington, not just from a leadership group of Southington, but from those who are day-to-day residents here as well. So I would ask that those pieces be considered. that the document be appreciated and valued as an important step, but that in this first step, we can take a strong first step, and that some of the changes recommended are valuable and should be considered and not taken as a, we did something wrong, people aren't happy, but rather people can offer insight. They can share their day-to-day experiences and make something even stronger. And with all my colleagues, we would just like to offer any time, attention, or support we can give to that effort. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Mark. And thanks for coming out. Appreciate the all of the words of appreciation and the suggestions. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yes, Madam Chair. We have, it looks like Nathan Wilson would like to speak. And then after Nathan, we have Jason Maselli.
Great.
Nathan, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
You need to turn your sound on, Nathan. Yeah, that's it. You got it.
My fault. 211 Woodbury Hill Drive, Nathan Wilson. I just wanted to make a point of personal privilege, Madam Chair. I just wanted to recognize Acting Chief Paul. He's been on the job for 3 months, and I just wanted to make sure people knew that not only is he acting chief, but he is currently the assistant chief for the department, but also the fire marshal for town. So he's juggling 3 very high-profile positions for the town. And on top of that, he's been dealing with the storm watches the last few days that we've been having winter storms. It's budget season. He's also, really into the master plan with his staff. We can't forget about that. But also taking on all the duties as chief on a daily basis. So I really just wanted to take a moment and just thank him for being such a great leader in this town and, really showing us a great job that he's done for the last 3 months. So I appreciate Chief Paul and his colleagues at the department doing a great job keeping us all safe every day. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Nathan. That was very good words. Thank you.
Thanks,
much.
Nate.
I do appreciate Jimmy Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. We appreciate that. Somehow, Chief Paul continues to smile still after all being so busy. So, Madam Chair, as I mentioned earlier, we have Jason Maselli who would like to speak as well. And I don't see any hands after that, but we'll see what happens throughout Jason's discussion.
Sure.
Jason, if you don't mind stating your name and address for the record.
My name is Jason Maselli, 209 Hilltop Drive, Southington. I hope I don't have to close it out. I wasn't even sure this was the right section to talk in, but it appears to be. So I just want to commend the creation of this proclamation. I'm super proud. I've been a resident here my entire life. Super proud that something like this is starting to come out of our town. I think it's super important, and just really, really proud to be living in the time when this is starting to emerge. I do think that something like this should be created in collaboration with a diversity and inclusion representation group in order to maximize its accuracy and effectiveness and ultimately demonstrate a sincere intent to support the struggling community. I think this is a great first step, as has already been indicated by other members of the community. I'd like to see more great steps, and I wholeheartedly support. I think it's Val's suggested changes, specifically referencing gender identity in addition to sexual orientation. I think that's a
But that's fine though, right? You want the one.
crucial omission.
Is it still on? Oh.
So with that, that's it. I just show us support and would love to see this refined a little bit further and see more of it in Southington. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate it. Anyone else that would like to speak to the council? Well, thank you, everybody. It was a very excellent time of voicing our opinions and discussing some of those things that we're passionate about. I appreciate it very much. All right, so we're going to close this section of public communication, and we're going on to old business. So the first item is item A, action on Spring Street Bridge contract.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Chris?
Second, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair Del Santo.
Oh, Paul already
Mike.
voiced a second, Mike, so we're going to put Paul down as second. Very good.
Whatever.
So do we have any discussion on this at all? Hearing none, I will move the motion. All those in favor of the action on the Spring Street Bridge contract signify by saying aye.
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 Good. Action on letter of support for Safer Grant, item B.
So moved.
Second, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'm going to put Chris Poulos as the one who made the motion and Jim Morelli as the second. He had raised his hand, but his voice didn't come through very well. So I'm going to go ahead. Jim Morelli, you seconded that. And all those, is there any discussion on this at all? Any discussion?
Madam Chair, just again, a thank you to the chief and the team and the commission for working hard to do the analysis and, you know, trying to find an opportunity to also make this something that has as minimal impact as possible to the taxpayers as we integrate this in. So thank you.
Very good. Words well said. All those in favor, please. You know, I think we're going to take a voice vote on this because it involves money. So, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Palmieri,
Yes.
Poulos,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Dietzick,
Yes.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Spiano.
Yes, it passes unanimously. Congratulations, guys. We're going to look forward to those 3 new firefighters. That's going to be wonderful. Item C, action on supervisors union contract, please.
So moved, Madam Chair. Mike Del Santo.
And I'll second.
Second.
Okay, Mike Del Santo made the motion, and with your permission, Chris, I'd like to have Val second it. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's move the motion. All those in favor of approving the supervisors union contract signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any objections? Any nays at all? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the action on the supervisors union passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to new business. Item A, tax refunds. Val?
Madam Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the tax refunds as outlined in our packet tonight.
Madam Chair, this is Bill, second.
Oh, very good. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed to giving back the money? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. And now we go on to appointments. Item B, the ethics alternative. We are looking for a table on that.
Motion to table, Madam Chair.
Motion to table. Is there a second?
Second, Del Santo.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we talk about the ZBA. One member to the ZBA. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Michael Scavetta, who's currently serving on ZBA as an alternate to fill the ZBA role.
Very
I'll
good.
second that motion, Madam Chair. Mike Del Santo.
Mike Del Santo seconded that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, I see this as a unanimous choice. Thank you so much. And now we go to item C.
Yes. Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would put forth a motion to approve the resolution with some changes as presented by Councilwoman DiPaolo. And I would like to take a moment to just highlight some of those changes that she identified. I'll put forth the motion. We can open it up for discussion and talk about anything that needs to be deleted or added. So the first change would be the spelling change on through to be spelled THROUGH. I think I spelled that correctly. And then in the first paragraph, we are going to change the acronym and the related words to include the I and the I and the A and the plus and the associated words associated with those. In number 1, we were going to change the recognizes the to that. And then in paragraph, in sentence 2, I would recommend that we have it say recognizes that all residents should be treated fairly and equally. And this way here, I understand that we may not be as specific as some people may want, but we are also not excluding anybody. So those are my recommended changes and my comments, and I will hand the floor back to you, Madam Chair, for further comments on that. And
Madam Chair, this is Bill. I'll make a motion to second Tom's proposals.
Okay, thank you very much. So Bill has seconded it. But Tom, for clarification, the IA plus, I would like to see it carried through the whole resolution. If that's okay with you, could you?
Yes, that's right. Yep, the definition in the first paragraph would, yeah.
Bill, you're okay with seconding that with the IA plus carried through the whole resolution?
So moved.
Thank you so much. Okay. So we have that. We have a second. It's on the floor. Is there any other further discussion that we want to put on the floor? Val?
Madam Chair, so thank you, Councilman Lombardi, for making that motion. Do you need the language for the LGBTQIA plus? You have, the I is intersex.
Yep. If you
asexual and or ally.
Okay, very good.
Okay, just want to make sure you have that. Okay, and I guess I would like to see in paragraph 2 the purpose of this resolution is to recognize the LGBTQIA. It's not to recognize, obviously, we hope that all residents in our community are going to be treated fairly and equally, but the whole purpose of this resolution is to talk about Pride Week, establish Pride Week. And so I think it's very important to say that we are recognizing all residents regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression. And I think we heard, listening to some of the members of our LGBTQ community, I think that's important to them. And I think it's showing some respect. So I agree with all the changes, Tom, but I would like to keep, regardless of sexual orientation, comma, gender identity or gender expression. I just think it makes it much more inclusive.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
I understand Councilwoman DiPaolo's desire on this, but at the same time, the intent and the common ground of this resolution is very strong. We're all in support of this. So anyone that reads this is going to get a clear message that this council is very supportive of the rights of the LGBTQIA plus group. So yes, it may be lacking in specifics, but I think it's more important to not exclude anyone more than trying to include those words. So that's just my opinion, and I respect Councilwoman DiPaolo's statement and others who have said the same from the public.
Very good. I see Chris you have your hand up, Chris Palmieri.
Just because we discussed this earlier, is there any reason? I just feel like this is being rushed tonight. I don't understand. It wasn't on the agenda in the first place. We just got it. Val had asked for some time to process, the language when it was sent. She shared some of these prior to the meeting. She voiced some changes that she'd like to suggest again. I understand, Vicky. It's the next meeting is also still February. It's not.
You know what, Chris,
But
you brought it up before, and you're bringing it up again. Our stand is that we want to move tonight on it. We want to get this on the record.
Well,
and as the majority, there is no motion to table. If there is a motion
I'd like to make a motion to table.
Okay, is there a second to the motion to table?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, let's call the vote to table. Madam Clerk, would you call the vote? This is to table.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Pulis,
Yes to table.
Chaplinsky,
No.
Santo,
No.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Dietzick,
No.
Lombardi,
No.
Morelli,
No.
Triano.
No. So the motion to table is not approved. And so right now we have a motion on the floor with a second. Does anyone want to move the motion? The discussion closed?
I'll make one more comment, Madam Chair.
Okay, Tom.
The motion to table, there's really no point. We're all in agreement that we support this. And the bottom line is this. We're not doing this for newspaper headlines. We're not doing this for anything. We're doing this because we support this community and we want to get it through. There's been a strong push with the Pride group in town that they're planning events for June. Let's get it on the table. Let's vote for it and let's move forward. So that's the way I see it.
With all due respect, though, with all due respect, Tom, if we're going to do it, let's do it accurately. Let's do it, with some respect to the LGBT community. And I don't understand why we would not put language in there.
First of all,
to
Val,
just-
that's inflammatory. What you've just said is inflammatory.
What's
one wants
inflammatory?
we are trying so hard to make this a positive thing.
It is a positive thing, Madam Chair.
Valerie, this
This
is
is,
common ground. You have
it is common, this is Dave Falvo's.
Nitpicking and you're carrying.
We're not
Valerie, the thing is that we have a motion, we have a majority, we're ready to move this. We want to affirm our LGBTQ.
I don't even know the name.
IA plus people even. We want to affirm them. And we want to move forward. Timing is of the essence. We've explained that. And we keep going back to the same thing, Chris, over and over again.
But Vic,
Will
then
someone please move the motion?
What urgency tonight? I do not understand, and I haven't heard anyone say anything.
Chris, it's not the urgency, it's the timing. We have a group of people who are going to do a great celebration at the end of May and the beginning of June. We want to lock this in now with a resolution because we have our budgetary things going on. We have so many other activities. We're talking about a SAFER grant. We need to get a fire chief in. There's so many things on our plate. I say let's do it now where we have everybody on the table.
Right.
I agree with that. I say we do it right, not rush it.
Nothing wrong with this.
We want to do this right.
Until a future date. Is that what you said?
No, Madam Chair, I'm fine. I'm fine to.
We've got plenty of stuff to.
Madam Chair, if you would let me speak, if you would please let me speak. We would like to. That's fine doing it tonight. It's fine to do it tonight. David Falvo spent time on this. I am only adding to his language.
Yep.
He wanted this to say all residents should be treated fairly and equally, regardless of sexual orientation. That's his language. That's what you wanted in this. So I am just adding, gender identity or gender expression, just so that it includes everybody. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to change it, to eliminate anybody, to nitpick. I want to be respectful to the LGBTQIA community. That's all. And if we could do it tonight, that would be great and wonderful. But let's do it the right way. It's just adding to his language.
That's your perception.
Well, it's a lot of people's perception, I think.
Well, there's an awful lot of other people, Val, here. And I think that I'm sorry.
Councilwoman DiPaolo, I understand where you're coming from, but what if there's somebody else that says, well, wait a second, you forgot this wording or that wording. If we keep that sentence broad, look, people are going to read this and this has never been put forth before by a council. We're doing it tonight and we agree on this. Let's not get bogged down by these minor details. This is a great step in the right direction. And
you're making it sound like that we're nitpicking and we don't want this, and that's really wrong and unfair. We want this, and I am just going a little further with the with the wording that David Falvo, that drafted this, put forth. So I am trying to respect him as well. So please, Councilperson Lombardi, don't make it sound like this is something that we are now trying to hold up. And we're not putting this out there, and we're not behind the LGBT community. We are. I have just added for a couple more words to be put in there. And if they can't be in there, then if it's going to go to a vote, fine. I just don't want this perception to be that now, oh, look at you Democrats holding this up. Because that's not what's going on.
We understand.
It's being insinuated, Madam Chair.
That was not my, and I apologize if that you felt that way. That's not my intention. My intention is I've explained it, why we're putting it on tonight. We have common ground in all of this. Mr. Lombardi has made a motion that makes it for all citizens, which I think is good. Mr. Dietzick seconded it. I don't know what the holdup is. So
it's the purpose of this resolution is for the LGBTQIA community, not for all residents. We're trying to support them. So that was the only reason that number 2 has that language. That's why. That's the reason.
Madam Chair, I would just point to paragraph 1 that this resolution is very clear on its intent, and I would ask that we call the roll.
Okay, very good. Do I have a second for the call the roll? Is there someone else?
Second, Madam Chair.
Second. Okay, very good. So hearing that, I'm going to ask the clerk to call a voice vote on this. This is a very important evening, and we are not making light of it. In fact, we see the importance of it. So all of us do. All of us do. And even though there may be aspects of this where there is some disagreement, I believe that every single person on the council has in their heart to do the right thing. And so with that, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please? And the motion is to approve the amended resolution as indicated by Mr. Lombardi and seconded by Mr. Dietzick.
On that,
I will vote yes because I agree overall with what's being offered, but I share concerns offered by Val.
Lewis,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Most certainly, yeah.
DiPaolo,
Yes.
Dietzick,
Yeah, I'm actually happy to vote yes. Very happy.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Triano.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you to everybody, all of the folks that were on tonight. And the other thing I want to remind folks, this is our first step. And so as we go forward, there may be changes in a new resolution. There may be all kinds of things. This is a learning process for all of us and for the community at large. And so I appreciate Val. I want to purposely I want to focus in and actually say that to you, that I have enjoyed working with you over the years, and also specifically, I appreciate you, I respect you, and that it just signifies that there's more work to be done, Val. That's all. So thank you, Val.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right. Hearing no other matters before this, I will entertain. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Everyone that was on, we're up to, we've had up to 40 people on as participants. Thank you, everybody who's been here. We now will entertain a motion to go into executive session dealing with contractual matters and personnel. And
Madam Chair, may I just give a brief, for contractual matters, in will be the entire council, the town manager, the town attorney, and Sergeant Steven Salerno. He will then exit, and the council, the town manager, and the town attorney will discuss personnel.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion?
So
And a second.
I'll second.
Second, Del
All
Santo.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.